Well, welcome to this evening's parent plug-in. While I'm waiting for our lovely Nalini to join us, I thought I'd let you know that today we are talking about accountability. So we are the Gifted. We are a children's, um, children and young people's charity. We support mainly young women to develop their self-esteem, confidence, and so on. So, yeah, looks like Nalini's got a few technical issues joining us this evening. So if anyone wants to join us as well, you are more than welcome to come on the show. If you've got any thoughts about things around your views around accountability and what do you feel? And this is in light of a reel that we posted earlier in the week where this parent was basically saying that in order to get our children to show accountability, we have to demonstrate it. And one of the things that she'd said was that we ought to be vulnerable, and that will enable our children to be vulnerable. She also said that it's useful for us to, she spoke about vulnerability, and she spoke about building trust, and she spoke about apologizing. So I thought those three things were really interesting. But what are your thoughts? Do you think that in order for them to be accountable, we should also be accountable? Hi, Nalini.
Hi, I'm sorry I'm late.
I just don't think it's the same without you, because I'm trying to keep people like engaged, and I feel like I'm not bringing the energy that you bring.
Oh, we're not having that conversation.
No, isn't that a conversation? I'd point that out.
Okay. All right. Thanks for pointing it out.
Yeah, I was waffling on a little bit about accountability. So, and it's in light of the reel that we shared. So, can you give a nice synopsis of it? Because I don't know if I did it justice.
But I didn't hear what you said.
Well, you give your version, and then I'll see, yeah, Nalini makes much more sense.
I don't think a lot of people agree to that, but yeah, let's roll with that one then. Okay. So for me, accountability is taking responsibility of your own actions.
Yeah.
Right. I know the reel that we posted was about children and parents setting an example. But I think as humans, we should all be accountable for our behavior. Right. And that doesn't matter which environment you're in. I think that shows character.
Yeah, definitely. But what is the best way to teach accountability? So Curate Your Genius said modeling accountability should in all intersections with young people.
Interactions,
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so I'm with them on that. Yeah. But okay, but this is the new way of parenting, right? Because my parents, hell no, didn't say, I'm sorry for what I did.
Yeah, because they always right. Right.
And you keep telling yourself that. I'm sure our kids say that too. My mom is always right.
Always right. Does she make mistakes? Not with regard to me and parenting. No mistakes.
Right. Okay. But I think this is where you and I differ a little bit.
So, my mum says sorry exactly once in my
life. I'm really curious. I've got to ask the question. when was that exact time that she apologized to you?
I don't know if my mum ever said sorry, but I think I can hear her saying, sorry for what?
With her accent and the head movement.
Sorry for what? If she did say sorry, it's probably very sarcastic.
All right. Okay. So my mum has apologized in recent years, saying because she spends a lot of time with her grandchildren back in Sydney, right? So
yeah, go on. Yeah.
right. And what did you say? I didn't hear you.
I did remember an apology.
Oh, you do? What was it?
It was, I'm sorry, wait for it, for not teaching you Yoruba. We didn't know then what we know now.
That's priceless. That's priceless. Come on. The worries that she had in her life. So my mum's sorry to me was, I'm sorry I didn't give you enough time.
Oh.
Because she has so much of time for her grandchildren now.
Yes.
That that back then she was always working, and in recent years she has a lot of regret. So yeah, but I'm forever saying sorry to my kids. Forever.
Yeah.
Apologizing to my kids.
Yeah, I do say sorry a lot. It's really embarrassing story. I was 7 and had started my period, but was scared, so was hiding my bloody underwear. Oh, yeah, we understand.
Yeah.
Bloody underwear. She found them, and I got a hot slap, polite version of what I got. And when she calmed down, she was very apologetic.
Oh, but that's understandable, though.
What?
No, I think I understand that.
You understand the
her reaction? I think I understand her mum's reaction. Yeah, because I think it's every parent's. I shouldn't say worst nightmare, but I think it's every parent's nightmare, right? It's an inevitable fact of life when you have a child that's a girl that's going to go through this process. And yeah, I think the reaction is, why didn't you come and tell me? Like, do you know what I mean? And the realization that she came to once she calmed down is, oh, I am sorry. I not necessarily I shouldn't have reacted that way, but I am sorry. Yeah. So yeah, like she said, I understand it too, to be fair. Yeah.
It's interesting because nowadays a slap is like, oh, really? When you look at what they call like punitive discipline punishment, yelling is just as bad. So even a reaction that would be like a child now, a child would be like, yeah, my parent really shouts at me. Like, really? Is that's mild? But it's really like, really? She really yelled at me because when she found out that I didn't tell her, she lost it. But she might not even lost it. She just really raised her voice and was like, "Why didn't you tell me?"
Yeah.
But that's as bad as a slap nowadays.
Well, yeah, it is, because I think it's getting to the point where I think parents are too scared to parent their children. Because of social media and the video cameras and who's watching and what's society going to say and what's blah 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 going to say, and oh my god, then you've got school and you've got social service. The list forever goes on now.
Yeah.
Right. And I think our children aren't as resilient as we were when we were growing up. Mate, thick skin, dude. You know, you don't get that thick skin anymore.
Yeah. I mean, she said she thought I was being dirty rather than understanding my fear.
Yeah.
And do you think that parents are generally like, there are parents that are walking on eggshells around their children?
I won't say all of them, but I think there is a lot of that happens.
Mm. Oh, okay. Should I read that out? My grandma was really negative towards me because my mum got pregnant young. Her words were way more damaging than the beatings I got from mum. And mum and I are very close.
Mm.
Mm.
So you can understand that's childhood trauma going from one generation to the next generation.
Yeah, because we were just talking about the yelling and the
Yeah.
shouting being really, but actually you can see in some words, like, it's not even just the fact that there's the raising of the voice, there's the name calling, and there's just the abuse as well. I mean, yeah, withdrawing, like how some parents would
Mm.
withdraw themselves from their children as well when they've misbehaved or
Yeah.
done as a means of punishment.
Yeah.
Also, really emotionally challenging.
Yeah. Yeah. But again, but I don't think a lot of parents understand that that is more damage.
What the
The
word,
withdrawal,
the withdrawal?
yeah, the than the yelling. Because when
Yeah.
you yell, the child knows. I'm yeah, okay. I know this. It's familiar. It's normal. But the moment you switch off, it's like, oh, she doesn't love me anymore. She doesn't want me anymore. I'm a bad child, and you go into self-hate mode
Mm.
because the parent withdraws. So it's almost a sense of rejection
Yeah.
from the parent. Right?
Yeah. I think Obi's joined us. Hi, Obi. You're welcome to come on the show if you want. Yeah, I think also one of the other things that I think is interesting about how do you discipline children then?
I look. It's hard to say one shoe size fits all. Um, and I can talk to you about my own personal experience with my own kids, right? And for me, what I learned was yelling at argument was pointless
Mm-hmm.
because the moment I sat and I spoke to him calmly, that affected him more than me yelling at him.
Yeah.
Right. So what I do now is if there's a serious conversation to be had, I'd have that in a safe environment. Obviously, the whole house is a safe environment, but where it's a neutral space
Yeah.
and we get to talk about what's going on,
Mm.
you know, in a calm manner. So there's no need to raise my voice or tell him, I'm disappointed or anything like that. There's no emotion attached to it. It's merely a conversation.
Mm.
And I remember him saying to me once, it affects me more when you talk to me like this than when you yell at me.
Yeah.
Right? Not affects as in I'm damaging him, but it's I guess it grabs his attention a lot
Mm.
more.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Right? So it's you know, but then Mira's totally different.
Mm.
But having to parent the both of them and having to discipline the both of them, it it really differs on how I do it. I mean, it's the same with you, with your girls, right?
Yeah. Different model. I think, yeah, it's weird because you can see that all children are different. So the way that I relate to one
Mm,
and the way that we respond to some, like my girls don't like shouting at
mm,
all. So as soon as I shout and raise my voice, you can see that they go into a shell.
Mm.
It's like, okay, you're really upset, aren't you? Yes, I'm upset because you shouted. So they force me to have that conversation with them.
Yeah.
About what's happened anyway. So, but it's interesting because I remember saying to my brother at one point that we're, as a society, like the modern way of parenting is telling us not to, the punishment or the consequence must match the let's call it crime, or the what's the word, the wrongdoing. So if it's a case of they're on their phone up at midnight, then the punishment or the consequence would be that you would take the phone away. So it relates.
Yeah.
But if they've say come home late from school and didn't call, doesn't make sense to take the phone away, does it?
Yeah.
So what would, and it's that kind of thing. I find it really difficult to kind of work out what is the appropriate discipline for your child in certain situations when you're going around it in this very much
Tip your toe away.
Yeah. What is butterflies with rainbows said? I've never heard an apology from my parents, yet I'm a parent that apologizes all the time for everything. Parenting young ones with mental health difficulty, I'm always scared I'm in the wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's a challenge in itself.
Yeah.
Right.
And that is something of, like when I said, do we find as parents that we are stepping on eggshells around our children? Because and it's not, because it doesn't mean because our children are abusive or they might kick off, but sometimes it's that you understand how volatile they are. Because in that reel, she'd said, when we're vulnerable, we teach our children to be vulnerable. And I told you that that was one of the things that kind of got me thinking, what, children are vulnerable. They're naturally vulnerable. By nature of us being the adult and then being the child, they are vulnerable. So do we teach them do we have to teach them vulnerability?
Okay. So I looked at it when I saw it. I looked at it as me being emotionally vulnerable teaches them to be emotionally vulnerable, right? So if because I'm tough, right? So my kids look at me like I am tough, right? But I have my emotions and I am not afraid to show it to them, right? Over anything. I mean, it could be a song on the radio and I could be singing and I just want to cry, because it reminds me of, my parents or my, family back at home, whatever, right? So for me, that's being vulnerable, and that's showing them that that's okay to be vulnerable, especially to, like, you don't need to be doing that to strangers, but especially to your mum, like, it's okay, you're safe, I've got you, right?
And maybe that is it. Maybe it's more about building trust. Accountability helps you to build trust with your children and to create a safe space.
Yeah.
To have conversations.
Yeah.
About either what one's done and how that action has made the other person feel. And sometimes we're not saying sorry for the action, but sometimes we might find that we're saying sorry because you're feeling the way that the impact of the action. But the point that one of the things that came up for me is the action may never change.
Yeah. Okay. So the action's never going to change because the person that's doing the action doesn't understand that they're in the wrong. That's why the action's never going to change.
Yeah, but is it that they're in the wrong? Is it that that they have to, as a parent, if I do something, is it that I'm in the wrong, or is it that my child doesn't understand my reasoning behind what I do?
Okay, then to me, then the question is, well, why are you not explaining yourself as the adult?
So when I explain myself, so let's say I'm explaining myself as the adult, but
Yeah.
there are things that I can remember as a child, there were some things that I would hear, you might not, you don't understand it now,
Yeah.
but when you're an adult, you will understand why I'm doing the things I'm doing.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. Okay, sorry. You kind of just. All right. Okay. Yeah, that's fine. Back then it was okay because that's the kind of answers that you pretty much got because I said so, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Because I'm a parent, right? Yeah. Okay. I understand that, but we're in a place now. I was going to say better place, maybe not, but we're in a place now where we are able to explain ourselves. If you, as the adult, don't know why you're doing what you're doing and you can't explain it to me, dude, there's something wrong with that, right?
Mm,
I used to have this conversation with my mum all the time, right? Especially about religion. And she'd be like, oh, but you have to do X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, why? She said, because that's what you have to do. And I'm like, it doesn't answer my question now, does it?
mm,
Right? To a point, a few years ago, we had the same conversation,
mm,
right? And I said, yeah, but why? And she said, can you stop asking me questions? And I'm like, dude, if you don't know the answer, say you don't know. But
mm,
don't ask me to do something that you can't explain yourself for.
mm.
Do you see what I mean? So, but
Yeah, I hear
like,
you. How how about this one? So I'm quite intuitive,
yeah,
and I kind of could do something because in my heart of hearts, and I get a sense that what I'm doing
mm,
is right. It's the right thing to do at that
mm,
moment.
mm.
And some things that I do out of intuition, I can't always explain it.
Yeah,
So yeah, I could say I can't explain this. Like to say that to a 7-year-old, it's my intuition. I feel it in my heart. I have a sense, but it's a no. I just don't feel comfortable with it. But why? But why? But why? It's a no. And you're gonna have to trust me that it's a no.
okay, yeah, but okay, mm, okay, um, but that's got to be a lot deeper than that. Like that the question that the child's got to ask is got to be a lot deeper than that for you to go with a gut feeling. Do you see what I mean? I think a lot of the times it's so surface level when it comes to kids, um, that we should be able to give an answer. We should be able to explain ourselves
Mm,
and say, well, this is why I think you shouldn't,
mm,
right? Or what I, okay, so some of the conversations that I have, and if it's not age appropriate, I'd say, okay, when you get a little bit older, I'll explain it then. But right now, it's not appropriate for you to know. Right?
mm,
So that means I've not disregarded what they've asked me. I've acknowledged what they've asked me. And I've said, right, in a few years' time, I will tell you. And trust me, knowing my kids, in a few years' time, they will come and ask the question,
mm,
right? They will remember,
mm,
right? But again, but at this time, in this generation, I think as adults, if we aren't able to explain ourselves,
mm.
then that's on us.
I know, but there's sometimes
Why are you never satisfied with my answer?
everything just gets irritating. Like we've got to explain everything. Sometimes the questions that come at you, and you just think it's stupid. It's a stupid request, right? And it's a no. So you're asking me to explain why I think it's stupid, and that it just gets irritating. It's like, no, oh come on, it's ridiculous. It's a firm no.
Okay, but yeah, okay. It really does. It really, like I said, it really is based on the question. The question that I get asked is, can I watch YouTube? Can I watch YouTube? Can I watch YouTube? Is what I get asked all the time by one particular person in my house, right? And I'm like, oh, and she's like, why? And I'm like, because I said so. And she's like, oh, but why? And I'm like, dude, I'm the parent. I've just said no, go away. Right? But that's YouTube. That's like,
okay, so we are on the same page that sometimes it can be just ridiculous, and you're like, all right, so what do I have to now explain? Go through the whole kind of research and explain the whole around why you can't have a TikTok account.
yeah,
You're like 8.
yeah,
I think there's a clear one is because you're underage.
yeah.
But what about even when they become okay, here's one. If you want a little bit of an example where I'm like, just silly. Can you take my skirt to get shortened? Like, no. Why not? Because the length of the skirt is the length of the skirt. It's the length of the skirt that's appropriate for school. So I'm not getting it shortened. Not having no more of a conversation about it. It's not going to become a debate. You don't need to write me a letter with your 5 points of like why I think you should take that to the dry cleaners and get it shortened. It's a no.
She at least asked you, dude. I just rolled up my skirt
Well,
and did it myself.
yeah, that is also happening. But like, why am I going to like, I don't know, support the rolling up of the skirt and say, oh, you know what? Rather than roll up your skirt, let's just get it shortened for you.
Okay, look. So I dropped obviously my son at school, and there's a lot of young girls that go to that school, obviously because it's co-ed. And sometimes I look and my eyes almost pop out of my head, right? And I'm like, dude, and like obviously Mira's in the car. I'm like, dude, I'm like, how short is that skirt? Right? I'm like, how the hell is she even bending over? Right? Just even kneeling, like how?
Yeah.
And Mira just looks at me, and she looks at me. She said, and she knows the disapproving voice and my face says it all. She's like, "Yeah, mate, it's a bit short." So I think I'm slowly drumming into her head. There's some things that are appropriate, and there's some things that are not. You want to go to a club looking like that, mate? All for it.
With the person, and I went through that same, and I was so confident that, yeah, she's not going to be the one.
Listen. Mira is going to be that girl that wears that short skirt, right? Trust me on that one. I already know. But anyway, we've got a few messages that we've not read.
Okay.
Hold on.
No.
So are you reading? Shall I read?
Oh gosh, there's few.
Yeah.
You go for it.
Okay. So the adults in my life used to say, do as I say and not as I do. I struggled with that then, but as an adult, I understand I am not always entitled to an explanation. Oh, that can breed entitlement. Oh, that can breed entitlement. All right. I have so much to say. Wish I could join you, but she can't because she's got her baby sleeping on her. I think for some parents, it's hard to go with a gut feeling, especially if you've had other professionals tell you and your children that mum and dad in the wrong. Obviously turned around and said, laugh out loud, Kemi. Obviously also agreed with me, but yeah, thanks, Obi. It's not the what, it's how. It's always the how, though. Okay. this generation will not settle for "'cause I said so," especially they have access to all sorts of information at their fingertips, yes, but we have to teach them how to respect and know if it pretends to and reasoning and conversation win, but we must model acceptance of to simply say no to if we accept them to say no to others. If we accept them to say no to others and have it respected, they have to learn it from us first. All right, true that.
Yeah. So if we expect them to say no to have it, others and have it respected, which was what we describe as boundaries, they learn it first.
Yeah, that's true.
I did think of something today. I did think, definitely. Yeah. I did think of something today. I wondered whether I could get away with, do you know what? Why don't you go online and research why you believe why I'm saying no, and come back and let me know what you've discovered.
Good luck with that.
And it can't be anything condescending, passive aggressive, or some kind of fairy nonsense that I'm saying no because some kind of like I'm a certain type of parent. No, stick to the
Oh yeah, because it's always the parents' fault, right?
Yeah, it was like, I found this random that says the reason why you're saying no is because you're a parent who, struggles with, before you know it, they've come up with this whole theory about being a...
Oh yeah, and then it's always your childhood trauma. Oh yeah, because your mum was X, Y, and Z, so you want to be X, Y, and Z. It's like, dude, take a chill pill, just take a walk.
Yeah.
But yes, accountability. Going back to where we started, but I think it is something that needs to be modeled.
Yeah.
I don't think we can't expect children to have manners if the parent themselves don't have manners, right? I won't give you the example of what happened to me on the weekend because that's we can't expect that. But at the same time, if the parent does not take accountability, the child doesn't either, right? So if it's say the mum is the one that's always taking accountability, right? And you've got a boy and a girl, or you've got two boys and a girl, whatever, right? You've got both sexes as children, right? But the father doesn't take accountability and always blames somebody else, right? What you find is that especially the boys tend to be sorry, my hand is shaking as I'm talking to you because I'm holding my phone. So what you find is the boys in the family are that way inclined,
Right. Oh,
right? Because the father's the role model, right?
It's always somebody else's fault if there's a parent that's not taking account. Blame.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So it takes both parents to be accountable and respectful for the children to follow suit.
Yeah.
It doesn't work when one does and one doesn't. Right? It's like the abusive family, right? So if the father's the abuser, right?
That's
the likelihood. Do you know what I mean? The likelihood is the it follows through.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. That's a difficult scenario to navigate,
Yeah.
isn't it? Where it's like counterbalancing one parenting style against
Yeah.
another,
Yeah.
which is hard.
It is hard. It is hard, but as parents, and I think that's why, Kemi, I am so I'm so for um explaining stuff to my kids,
Mm,
right? Because you know, and and my kids like to remind me too, because you know I like to share sometimes. You know, when I had Arvin, like I wasn't much of a parent because I was still learning how
mm,
to be a parent, and I was finding my own way of parenting, right? And so he was really trial and error. The first few years of his life was trial and error for me.
mm,
After I had Mira and I started to watch my behavior, I started to understand. I'm like, oh, I can't go on like this,
mm,
right? So I started taking accountability for myself, and I was like, right, okay, I need to explain things. I can't just say because do as I say, all that kind of stuff. You know, I went through that as a kid. Like, you know, I always did what I was told, although I didn't, but you know, I did most of the times,
mm,
right? But but I knew I didn't want to be that parent. So I
mm,
had to reparent myself in order for me to parent my kids
mm,
the way I want them to be. So now I do take the time. So when I saw that reel, when we posted that reel, I was like, yeah, I was up for it
yeah.
because for me, I had to learn that,
Mm,
you know. So that's why when you know when you said, but I'm like, nah, it does take time, but don't get me wrong, I'm not a pushover, you
mm,
know. I do it. I'm not a pushover in any way, and my kids know that.
mm.
Um, but I do take the time to explain,
Yeah.
you know, regardless of what my emotions are, my thoughts are.
So we've got that is my role, balancing up the effects of my ex on the kids. Mm. And yeah, because that's what we just said, isn't it? You find yourself having to counterbalance
Mm,
that. And then love that, Nalini. That choice we make is a game changer.
mm,
And Obi says, my thoughts are children see the double-mindedness in their parents a lot of the time, and we expect higher of our children than we demonstrate or live out in our lives. Yeah, and I can see the value in apologizing for not being consistent and
yeah.
change. And even over the weekend, I said to my niece, "There's no guidebook for parenting."
Mm,
But I'm done with hearing that. She was like, parents love to say there's no guidebook for parenting, but you're the adult and we are the child. So
yeah.
um, there's and this I thought was really interesting in that we are the adults and they are the children, and there's a point at which we have to understand we're not having an adult to adult relationship.
Mm,
There's an adult to child relationship.
yeah.
Yes, you do have access to knowledge, you have access to the internet, you can research things and all of this, but what you don't have is
Mm,
experience. You don't have a life experience. And you're right, there's going to be some things that I know the reason why I'm saying no,
mm,
but like you said, it's not age appropriate at this time to explain
yeah.
what it is.
Yeah. But then but again, for me, that's the perfect opportunity to say there is a reason, but it's not age appropriate, so I can't share it with
Mm.
you. That in itself is an explanation to me,
All the
right?
explanations, like, I don't know why, but I just don't feel comfortable with it.
So say that again.
I don't know why, but I don't feel comfortable.
What saying that?
As an explanation.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay.
Because remember I said that there's an intuition and there's a gut feeling.
Yeah.
So there's sometimes I don't always know my reasoning for my no.
Yeah.
And this is, I don't know why, but I don't feel comfortable. I could then go and talk to somebody else, and that person may help me understand, well, what is it you're scared of?
Mm.
What is your no? And then I might change my mind, or vice, in favor of what the child wants. But on the other hand, it could go the other way. Okay, perhaps yes. In my gut, I don't feel comfortable with it. So maybe I'll come to you and I discuss it with you and say,
yeah.
you know what? I said yes, but I didn't feel comfortable.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah.
Well, you were right not to feel comfortable. The reason why it's a no is because of So go back, and it does come across as being double-minded. But you said yes yesterday.
Yeah.
And no.
Yeah.
And I think that can happen in with where two parents are together in the house, because the conversation between mum and dad could be like, no, I don't agree with you on that one. So the other parents now got to go back and explain their reasoning behind it. So it's a bit like when we say accountability, you've got to think about, I'm thinking about the parent that is on the spot and feels that the decision to say yes to something isn't a big deal. It's a minor, it's not a massive thing. It doesn't take much out of me to help and facilitate this thing. When they speak to the other parent, it's like, it's a no.
Yeah.
And the reason why it's a no is because so you're gonna have to go back now and tell them it's a no. But it's hard for a parent in that situation to think that every single thing that comes up, I have to discuss it with mum before I say yes, or I have to discuss it with dad before I say yes. For the thing is that, why can't you be your own person and just say what you think?
Yeah, but then that takes a lot of courage, right, to speak. And if you've got one dominant parent against one not so dominant parent, right, that's where the challenge is, right? So if I'm always dominating you and I'm always talking over you and I'm always right and you're always wrong, right? You're never going to have a bone to stand on. You're never going to have a backbone to turn around to the child and say, well, this is what I think. Because it's drummed into your head that you're wrong by me all the time. So I'll make the decision.
Wow.
Do you like that? That was powerful.
Which is where you get in some households.
That's what I'm saying. So in some households, yeah, that's right. So yeah, or it is, even though it's the mother that's saying it, it could be the father that's standing in the background,
or the parent that doesn't want to be the bad guy.
Yes, that's right.
Go and ask them.
Yeah,
so that I'm not the one that says no.
That's right. Okay, even though you think it's a no, even though you want it to be a no, but one parent has to be the bad person.
So, but on the flip side, do we take into account the personalities of our children? Some children are rule breakers and will boundaries. Others like boundaries and not question us. I like those ones. I like the ones that like the boundaries and don't question us. But having said that, not so much rule breakers, but I think I taught my eldest daughter really early on that if you want something, you need to formulate your reasonings and your arguments and structure your for why you want it.
Yeah.
So she got into writing letters, and there was something, and then I think she modeled that in school.
Right.
get something like it was like a queue jumping pass.
Oh, okay.
So
okay.
you have to queue up for like lunch or whatever. And then at home, there was a point at which she wanted, the irony of it. Wait till I tell you. She said she wanted me to buy her trousers, and for some reason, I don't even know why. I was just like, no. But why? No, you're not getting trousers. I'll not buy you trousers. I think I just thought, I've already bought your uniform. Why do I have to go and buy you trousers again? It's just like, leave me alone. No. And then she formulated this letter. She sent the letter to me about why she wanted trousers. So I showed it to I remember showing it to my group of friends, and they were like, why won't you buy her trousers? What, like, why does she have to even write you the letter? Why won't you just buy her the trousers? Yeah, I suppose. I don't know. I just buy her the trousers.
Oh my God. I tell you.
Double-mindedness and the way to get, and yeah, I'm not a rule breaker, but I've recognized the value of writing a letter. And this is what we've got. That's why the strength of the relationship between parents and child has to take over. It is really important that the parents are communicating. They don't necessarily have to be on the same page.
Yeah.
But communicate, because I think two people in a relationship have different value systems.
Yeah.
So at some point they've got to meet in the center.
Yeah.
And say, like, what is in the best interest of the child.
Yeah. Yeah.
So maybe it is in those relationships, it is a case of there's an agreement that we don't make decisions on our own. So when it does come up, I'll get back to you. I'll discuss it with your dad and let you know.
Yeah.
But when there's a breakdown in a relationship, the child works out very quickly that they can play one parent off against the other.
Oh yeah. Yeah, because there's always the one that says yes to everything. And there's the one that says no, now's not the time.
Yeah.
In
really healthy relationships, in really healthy co-parenting relationships, even when the parents are not together, that can be overcome. But as Butterflies and Rainbows had said as well, is that when you're not together and you've just come out of a very toxic relationship, dating and balancing all of those things with an ex can be just make parenting so difficult. And I, I think I've come full circle. It's like in those situations when you're literally, in that sense, you're a single parent, the importance of explaining everything and being so present in those decisions is even more so important, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. You're reading the last one.
Okay. And all the, because my eyesight's not great.
Okay, go.
Posting all of this from a position of healthy-minded parents. We all still need work and are learning and growing. So teaching grace and flexibility may go hand in hand with the growth of the whole family.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that grace of we're not always going to get it right.
Yeah. And look.
Also, actually, another thing about the double-mindedness
is
I'm entitled to change my mind.
Yeah, you
As
are.
are you.
Yeah.
And that, I think, is an important message in terms of consent. You
Oh, right. Okay. Right. Yes.
might say
Okay.
tomorrow, but you know what? Whatever your journey, you are entitled to change your mind at any point.
Yeah. Yeah, you are. Okay. Okay. Yes. Situation, uh, you know, depending on situation. Yes. Okay.
What when you
But
say
what
situation, when are you not entitled to change your mind?
dude, okay, listen, we're entitled to change our mind at any time, right? Period.
Mm.
But if that's how you parent, that you're constantly changing your mind, dude, that's
Okay, yeah, okay. You can't be like that all the time, of course. That doesn't.
exactly.
But
Exactly. Like, well, I'm looking worst case scenario. The parent just has no backbone and can't say yes or no,
mm,
right? But in terms of, yes, in terms of consent and boundaries and all
yeah,
that stuff we
but I would
talk
say
about.
also in the sense of changing your mind or whatever, you're yet justifying your yes, explaining your no, and all of
Mm.
that. It still lends itself to having that conversation, right?
Yeah, of course. But I know you're not a fan of the conversation, Kemi, but I'm
No,
telling you the conversation is the way to go.
I do understand. I do understand the importance. I said I'll come full circle.
Yeah, I'm glad.
The importance of it. Just like, yeah, it's a bit of a, yeah, got so much stuff to do, got so much stuff to do.
Yeah, oh, another 10 minutes. Do I have to have this conversation again?
To explain.
Why can't I just say, because I said so?
Like, your tights are 40 denier and not 80.
Yeah,
Seriously.
that's all right. Okay. So what are we thinking? What are we saying? How how is this going to work? Accountability. Are we teaching it? Are we modeling it? Are they going to learn for themselves? What's the story?
I think we are modeling accountability. I think it is important. It does help us to build that trust
Mm.
with our children. I'm still of the viewpoint that I would rather teach my children about resilience over vulnerability.
Yeah. Okay.
And I haven't got an issue with apologizing. When I say resilience over vulnerability, it's like what I was saying. Our children are vulnerable.
Yeah.
They're, it's part and nature of being a child.
Mm.
But in life, you're going to find that people won't own up to their mistakes. They're not going to say sorry. People won't be accountable for it. And there's the hard reality of it. You have to move on and keep going, or just know who you can trust and who you can't trust on
Mm.
that. Like, don't waste your time with people that don't own up to their mistakes.
Some people never do, regardless of age.
That might be your
Yeah.
boundary where you can say, I've got no time for people that show no accountability
Mm.
and their mistakes.
Mm. Yeah.
Because there are going to be people like that,
Yeah.
but you can't fixate your life and say you're not gonna. You become so fixated on the injustice of life and of how people.
Ah, okay. This is where the resilience comes from, right? This is where you're getting the resilience, right? Yeah, you're right. Absolutely. Um, I think, but it comes with experience. I think it comes with experience because you've got to, because I keep getting told by a friend of mine, and he's always like, there are some things that you're not going to be able to teach the kids. They've just got to learn for themselves. And I'm like, yes, yes, I know, right? Yeah, I think there's got to be an element of vulnerability first. And I know you're looking at children as vulnerable because they're kids and adults need to look after them. I get that, but I'm talking emotional vulnerability, right? Um, I think there's got to be a level of emotional vulnerability there in order for them to know in order for them to understand, right, I fell, it hurt, she broke my heart, he broke my heart, they broke my heart, whoever broke their heart, right? Right, but now I need to pick myself up. I've got to learn that I can be vulnerable. It's I think you learn resilience.
Yeah.
You've got to be vulnerable in order to
So I'm happy to have that conversation about the feelings, the emotions around how that thing, that its situation made you feel. But yeah, then after that we quickly move into like
yeah,
next steps and how you need to move on.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, no, I get that. I do get that. But and you're right. And remember, some time ago we had a conversation, and you said to me, just ask yourself, what did you expect?
Yeah.
Right? What did you expect? And I think now, to ask that question when somebody doesn't take accountability, I think is the way I look at it. Is like, what did I expect? You know, I didn't expect them to take ownership of what they did or what they said.
Yeah.
You know, but it's okay because I'm okay. And I guess that's where my resilience it comes back to. And I guess you can't have one without the other.
Yeah. And I don't think you can have resilience without vulnerability. And yes, emotional vulnerability is not the same as being vulnerable as a child. And that's what you're saying, is you're talking about emotional vulnerability.
Yeah. Yeah. Whereas you're right, because physically children are vulnerable, right? But for me, it's like, well, we can't go back to being kids in front of us. It's like physically not possible. Although I'm not far off.
So emotionally vulnerable, you know, children are emotionally vulnerable as well. There's a lot of children that don't even know how to regulate their emotions. There's a lot of children that don't even know how to name their emotions. So having the conversations around the emotions, yes, I think it's important, and it's an important part of parenting.
Yeah, but we're also talking about the children that we work with, right? So when you're thinking of these cases, we're thinking, we're predominantly talking about the kids that we work with, right? And yeah, and coming from the areas that we work from, and the kind of children and the kind of scenarios, parents, all that kind of stuff, those kids aren't going to be able to regulate their emotions. They aren't going to be able to articulate their emotions because they don't have people in their life to model that. You know, it's, at the end of the day, I think.
But no, what I would challenge you on that is, I could see my children doing the programs that we do.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't say that that's because I'm not modeling.
Yeah, but hold on. But the programs that we run aren't based on it's not based on children that are from any sort of environment. It's based for every child.
Yeah.
What we do is build self-esteem. We show them what it looks like. We show them how to be confident. It's building their self-worth is what we do. And yeah, you're absolutely right. We could sit down with all our kids and do that.
Yeah.
Do our programs, because it's a matter of opening your eyes and trying to give you a different perspective on life.
Yeah.
So yeah, like when our programs aren't targeted at any child in particular, it's there to help any child.
We probably need to programs. I said, but which is exactly ties up with what Butterflies with Rainbow says. Our children also make us emotionally vulnerable as parents too sometimes.
Yeah. I agree with you 100% on that.
Mm.
I think I'm sure my family would disagree, but I think I've become even more so emotional, if that's even possible for me, since I'm so yeah.
Right, I think that takes us to 9:03. Can you believe we've gone over?
I know. But you know what? Thank you to everybody for contributing. It's
Yeah,
been so nice.
yeah. Thank you for your comments as well. Yeah, it's been great.
Yeah. It's but I'm going to catch up with you at some point tomorrow. And good night, ladies. Thank you very much for being online with us.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.